Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode, your expert biz show. Today, I'm here with the one and the only GTeX lifetime members, Lock. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, man. Your growth since I met you for the first time has been insane. Now,
Thank you.
before, guys, you need to really pay attention to this interview. For those of you that you are watching on YouTube or listening on the other platforms, make sure you pay close attention because today we're going to talk about a topic which is relevant at any stage of your business, which is leadership. And the reality is, you are going to, whether you're leading yourself or leading other people, that's the thing that can make or break your business. So I'm really excited to talk to you, Ik, about leadership. But before we go into the meat, or if you're vegan like me, we go into the carrots of the juice of the interview. Can you tell us a bit more about your journey, Ik?
Absolutely. So my journey started off around 2011 when I was about 27 years old. I was exposed to what we now know as the personal development industry. So I had no idea this thing existed. Personal development was a thing. I had no idea. So I got exposed to this, and I also got exposed to entrepreneurship as well. And now, believe it or not, I mean, throughout my whole entire 27 years of my life as a kid, I was a lost kid. I was lost. I was stuck. I had no clarity on whatsoever of what my passion, purpose, vision, values, nothing. I had no idea who I was or who I was going to become. And so when I found out that actually I was born to be an entrepreneur, believe it or not, I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur even meant until I was 27, right? Talk about ignorance. And I was wondering, no wonder why I'm more lost in life. I didn't even know such a word existed. So I found out that I was a philosopher. I found out that I was an entrepreneur, and I found out that my entire theme, that what I'm passionate about, is leadership, which is all about growth, about service, about developing yourself to lead others and to serve other people. And that's how I kind of like got started on my journey. And I've been in the personal development industry for the past 7 years of my life, since 2011, as well as starting my own business. And I mean, my journey kind of like, the entrepreneur journey, I kind of like went all over the place. I was what I used to call myself an opportunity junkie, right? I was one of those.
Opportunities are everywhere.
Yeah,
Whoa!
exactly. I was one of those ones that would run to the back of the room and buy every single course at an event, at any event that there possibly were. So forex trading, I've done it. Property investment, I've done it. Internet online marketing, I've done it. Network marketing, I've done it. Kindle publishing, done that. Ad banners and clickbait, all sorts of quirky stuff. I've done it. I've pretty much done all of the ways that you could create passive income one way or another, and none of that worked for me. And I realized that actually the only way to create success for yourself personally is to find clarity on who you are as a person and what is it you love to do, and create a business around that. And ever since then, I've been just focused on building my business currently with my business partner, Jono Poon. And
Which
we're
is going to
focused
be
on
interviewed soon on this show as well. So
good
stay
stuff.
tuned, guys.
Good stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much my journey, and I've been on this journey for the past 7 years now, and it's fun, and there's ups and downs as always. And it's a very intensive journey where there's a lot of growth in me. Like you said, you see a lot of growth in me for the past 2 years or so. So, which is really, really cool. And I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Well, I mean, it's been first of all fascinating to see your growth, and talking about you also won the award. Was that in 2016?
Yes,
We gave you the award,
2016. That's
Speaker of the
one thing
Year.
I brag about all the time. It's
Yeah,
one of the best thing about joining GTech was winning the award.
Speaker of the Year 2016. But
Yeah.
man, you deserved it because it's talking about taking action and getting out there and making a name for yourself. And now the business is growing and is going well. So I know that you work specifically with millennials in particular. Why did you decide to work with the millennials? Is that fun? Did you find something that was a specific need that wasn't met there?
Yes, there's two reasons. What Jono had kind of like talked. He kind of intuited. One of the works that we do is we teach people how to access the intuition. There's a lot of
Yes.
self-awareness work, so there's a lot of subconscious work. So we're quite intuitive, and Jono kind
Talking
of
about
like
intuitive leadership as well, right?
exactly. So when Jono said, "You know what, bro? I kind of like picked up that intuitively that our target audience should be millennials," which is true as well. And one of the reasons why is because I first started off in terms of what I'm expert about, what I'm good at is clarity coaching. So
Mhm.
when I started off as a life coach, I realized that I wasn't really a life coach. I was a clarity coach because all of the clients that came to me to help them find clarity, either personal clarity or business clarity.
Right.
And I would be the one that would just nail it for them. It's like, this is what you are about, this is what you're doing, this is your theme, this is the problem, this is your target audience. And they'll be like, oh my God, Ike, you're good at what you're doing. You're just good at nailing like giving
Yeah.
people clarity. I thought, oh, okay, I had no idea. And it made sense to me as well because my journey was about finding clarity for myself. I was lost and stuck personally, right? I was personally lost and stuck all my life. So I'll use that same skill to where I help myself to find clarity for who I am and who I could ultimately become. I use that skill for my clients as well. So, and a lot of people who come to us are millennials. A
Hmm.
lot of people who are lost and stuck in life right now are millennials. And and ever since I heard Simon Sinek's talk, Start with
Oh,
Why,
beautiful.
love the guy. He's a role model. To me
Yeah.
he's one of the people aspirational figures that I look up to. He's very inspirational, and I've read his book. I've seen all of his talks. He's amazing, and everything that he teaches kind of like resonates with what we do in Limit
Hmm.
Break Lifestyle in terms of leadership, and one of the things that Simon Sinek highlighted was that millennials are the ones right now who are facing all these problems in terms of not knowing who they are and not
Hmm.
knowing what they
Hmm.
want in life because of all the noise out there. And one of the reasons why is because there's so much noise, there's so much information, but lack of wisdom. There's so much knowledge, but not enough direction. And so millennials have been bombarded with all these, all these information, all these how-to information. They're going on YouTube, checking out for content and how to do certain things, but they don't really know what's right for them. And so this is where we come in, and that is why we are specializing in working with millennials, because and generally that's who we are as well. We're millennials. We attract millennials. We resonate with them. We're old enough
I'm
to know what a
millennial too.
cassette.
Yeah. Hey, we go.
We're old enough to know what a cassette tape player is. I still have a Sony Walkman at home, but we're not too old to know how to use all these funny gizmos.
Exactly. To have a Rode podcaster as a microphone. All right. So now let's talk a bit more about leadership. What is the difference between leadership and intuitive leadership? Because that's, I think, something that, seeing the work that you have done, you go way deeper than other leadership training. So, what's the difference between leadership and intuitive leadership?
Intuitive leadership is adding the subconscious aspect to it. Is adding the intuitive element. Is aligning the heart, bringing the heart back into leadership. So it's more of a heart-centered way of governing leadership. There's another word that's been floating around called conscious leadership. A
Hmm.
lot of people are using that word. It's similar. It's the same thing, really. If we were to say conscious leadership is pretty much the same as intuitive leadership. And why is it important? And well, actually, it's funny. If let me give you a little bit of backstory quickly on how
Go for
we
it.
came for it. I came about that word intuitive leadership, and that is when John and I went off to our self-awareness training in South Africa. We met our intuitive coach. Her name is Michelle, and after working with us, after having a few group work and getting to know us, when we tell her what we was about, and that's when she said, "You know what, Ick, Jono, you guys are not life coaches." I thought, okay. And she said, "You guys, everything that you've been telling me, everything that you do is all about leadership. You're a leadership coach, you're a leadership trainer. And now that you've learned this work, now that you learned this intuitive work, what you really specialize in is intuitive leadership." And the moment she said that, it's like, okay. Jono and I just looked at each other. We're like, you
Yeah.
when shiver goes, you have shivers down your spine
Yeah. Yeah.
and resonates, like that's the thing we've been looking for all this time. And so it was like, that was the thing. And so what is intuitive leadership really? What is leadership to begin with? Leadership is about taking responsibility. We're all leaders. We all have the capacity and potential to be leaders by starting to lead our own life. Okay, and it starts with the very first simple principle, and that is responsibility. The moment you take responsibility for your entire life, you are a leader. You're leading your own life. And the moment you start taking responsibility for other people, for other external responsibilities, you are a leader because you are serving the mass. You are serving other people because you've decided to take responsibility for yourself. And that is what it is. And so leadership is all about taking responsibility. And where intuitive leadership comes from is the fact that we go deeper. We go deeper into the work of self-awareness. We go deeper into the work of knowing who you really are, knowing how you sabotage your success in life, knowing how your ego plays a part in trying to keep you safe, secure, and to keep you playing small in this game. And you don't, it's the ego that says we don't want to take responsibility. We point fingers at other people, blaming other people. That's the ego. And it's knowing, is doing the work intuitively, doing it's self-awareness work and going deeper and saying, you know what? No, this is my fault. This is my responsibility. This is how I am sabotaging my relationship. This is how I am sabotaging my business. This is how I am sabotaging what is exactly going on right now that's happening around me. It's not my team. It's not anyone else. It's me. And that is taking leadership into another deeper level. And that requires a lot of intuitive work. That requires a lot of self-awareness work where you don't. So there's two aspects. You got to look at the ego. You got to look at how are you sabotaging yourself as a person. I do this every day. But also at the same time, how do we access that genius part of us? How do we align ourselves back to our heart where we can truly serve from a heart-loving centered place? Because that's what leadership is. Leadership is about service. It's about service to other people, in service to other people, and other people see you as a leader. You don't self-proclaim that you're a leader. People claim that you are a leader by the work that you do for others and by the environment that you create so that people can trust you. And that comes from a lot of self-awareness and super conscious work, and that is where this phrase super conscious leadership comes from, and that is exactly what intuitive leadership is all about.
So we're talking about things that can sabotage, that we do to sabotage our success, to sabotage ourselves. What did you find can be some common themes that maybe you identified working with your clients about that prevent people to become great leader or intuitive leaders?
So I think the easiest way to say it is that we all have a different ego. We all have a different agenda. Our egos have a different agenda. So we all have different patterns. We all play out different sabotaging pattern. So I always say that the easiest way to identify whether you are in your own pattern or not, whether you're in your sabotaging pattern or not, is you look at, are you making this about you, as in are you taking this personally, or are you in service of others? It's kind of like being a speaker, right? You're a speaker, Simone, and so am I. So one of the earliest lessons I've learned being a speaker is if you focus about what other people will think about you, you get nervous, right? You will mess up your speech. But to be a great speaker, you actually don't even put the focus on you. It's actually about the audience. It's about serving the audience. It's about presenting your message and your presentation in order to serve your audience so that your audience walk away with a takeaway message. So it's no longer about you. So I find that it's very interesting, whereas like in leadership, it's the same thing, whether you're in your team, working with a team or your colleague, or even when I'm working with my business partner, Jono, and things will come up, right? Arguments come up or whatever. And especially in a relationship with me and my fiance, all the time, there's going to be bickering. And where your ego starts to kick in is when you start taking things personally because you make it about you. And so and I always say that the ego believes that we are separate. So its agenda, every one of our ego's agenda is really one thing, and that is to complete ourselves. Because our ego doesn't believe that we can achieve what we want in life until we are complete. So I don't believe I could be a world-class speaker until I go to Toastmaster and practice, or I don't believe I could do this until I do this course, or I don't believe I could travel around the world until I make the money first, right?
Yeah.
These are all false visions. These are all negative visions. These are all just things that we tell ourselves that we need to have in place before we can go for what we love, which is false. And the genius part of us, we know that we could just go straight for it, regardless of the circumstance. So if I would say this, and that is when you are thinking about, as a leader, if you think that if you take things personally and you think it's your fault, or you think that is, or you start blaming other people in terms of things are going wrong because that person didn't do that or that person didn't do this, actually take a step back and look and see, like, how am I creating this? What is
Yeah.
it that I'm doing, that I'm creating this, or what do I believe that I need to put in place first? What am I actually going for right now? A lot of people, they go for the false vision.
It made me think about when what you were saying made me think about when I got married. I true because consciously I was I didn't want to take the time off for 3 weeks for the honeymoon.
Mm,
I didn't know that we could afford like the wedding that we had
yeah.
personally, because my wife, like, we're finding this place and we were looking. There was a castle and white horse and carriage. Like, I was looking at it, man, this gonna cost me 200 grand just for the freaking wedding.
I saw the pictures. They're very nice, by the way.
it
It's very
was it was
beautiful.
like literally a dream, and
Yeah.
something that my wife is awesome is actually to step away from the this is how we are going to create it, but she's more in this is what I want to create, and somehow that's gonna happen. Of
Yeah.
course, there is a lot of action taken in that journey, but we had literally a wedding that would cost you, just to have here in the UK, probably about £200,000 for the price of a sports hall.
Yeah, you're right.
And somehow things, resources, people, gifts started coming
Mm.
to help us create the vision that we had. And I think that's something I'm playing much more with. Before I was just, I need to have this before this
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
I was like that completely. And so I was doing more of the action that I had to do
Yeah.
in order to complete it. But now I'm less like that. I'm more into the. I forced myself to tap more into the genius zone, because
Good.
it first of all, it bloody works.
Yes.
It bloody works, and I prove every single day for it. But I think it's just a way that we've been conditioned to believe and conditioned to achieve and to grow up with this BS put
Yeah.
into our mind. So let's talk a bit more about business right now. I have a few questions about your business I want to
Sure.
ask you, and some advice that you can give to the people that are to our listeners right now.
Hmm.
First of all, I would love to know what has been the biggest challenge that you had to face to grow your expert business.
Oh, the biggest challenge I had to face from my, well, apart from all of the mistake that I made in terms of all of the opportunities that I put a lot of money into, which made me rich, having a lot of money, to being into personal debt. I think one of my biggest challenges was getting out of debt, being able to pull myself out of debt and make my business work. One of my biggest challenges was actually quitting my full-time job and really focusing on making it work for me. And that was my biggest. That was when it really scared the living daylights out of me. I did make it work, however. And so, in terms of that, I guess what the biggest challenge would be is, again, it's about the noise. Who do you listen to? Who do you learn from? Who do you surround yourself with? For me, I had to make sure I get the right mentors in my life. When I realized I got burnt so many times, I had to make sure I find the right mentors. And so I don't rely on my own genius. I mean, I do, but I don't just rely on my own genius. I don't just rely on myself. I make sure that I learn from the best. So one of the things I always say is, I get a mentor, get someone that you could definitely learn from, who you resonate with, and then just apply what they say. One of the biggest challenge would be, in with that being said, is getting sales. For me, it was getting sales, and I think a lot of people who listen to this could resonate, could relate to this. A lot of
I can
entrepreneurs,
hear people say, "Yeah, me."
yeah. I mean, in entrepreneurship, in running a business, if you don't make any sales, you're not making, you don't have a business, right? And especially with the spiritual kind of intuitive work that we do, a lot of spiritual people, spiritual entrepreneurs, they hate that sales part. They want to serve. They have a big heart to impact people's life, but they are afraid to ask for that sales. They are afraid to. They don't want to be pushy or anything like that. And for me, the biggest challenge was learning how to sell my way, learning how to sell a way where I'm comfortable in making that transaction, as well as not being pushy, and just being me and inviting people and making people wanting to buy my product rather than me having to sell to them. That was my biggest challenge, learning how to sell. And it was only like really recently that I've begun to master sales, and now my closing rate is quite high, about 40%. So it's not too bad.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So, what sales advice can you give to people that are listening? What was the biggest turning point for you to go from oh, I'm not comfortable selling to
Yeah.
I mean, we had a conversation when we met at the Yes Group because we were sponsoring the same event,
Yes.
and you were telling me some of your numbers. I'm like, sweet man, I like what I'm hearing right now. So, what was the biggest turning point for you in terms of the sales part?
So there's three. So first turning point was re-shifting your beliefs around what sales really is about. To me, before I associated sales with a negative association, such as it's manipulation, is bad, and stuff like that, right? And I had a thing about sales as a childhood where my mum would say I'm not allowed to receive money from anyone because I've not done the work for it. So it's like when my grandmother would give me some money for New Year's for my birthday, my mom would say, "Take it, but tell your grandma next time don't give me any money." So she's already conditioned me not to receive money, which is something I have to work on to overcome. But the first thing that shifted this was I learned that actually selling is serving. Because if you don't sell your product, if you don't sell your service, you can't serve anyone. Right? You can't just give your time away for free, but at the same time, if you want to help people, you got to sell, you got to sell, you got to sell your service. So if you fail to sell to that person, you just fail to serve that person. So when that kind of like shifted my perception and perspective in what sales is really about. So I started to condition myself to say, actually, no, sales is a good thing. And if I really want to serve people, I have to sell. I have to get over myself and just start selling. So that was shift number one. Shift number two was practice. I got myself a sales coach, and I started practicing. And he said, "Ik, sales is all about practice. It's like playing tennis. You can learn all the theory, but if you don't get into the court and you don't practice, you're not going to get anywhere." So I had to practice selling. So I practice selling on stage, which you, by the way, Simone, has helped contribute as well to putting a right sales structure. We'll talk about that later on. So I learned how to sell on stage, and I learned how to sell one-on-one. I would say my highest closing rate is because due to my one-to-one conversation. I'm really able. One of the things is I practice so much about just sitting down with someone or over the phone and just talk to them and just serve them and just truly serve them and give them everything. I don't hold back when I have a one-on-one conversation. I give them everything they need, and then I just invite them to say, "Would you like me to help you out on this one?" And most of the time they'll be like, "Yeah." And if they don't, which is the second part, which is being detached from the outcome. That's the third part, and that is I'm not attached to whether someone say yes or no. I don't get desperate or anything like that. I just genuinely want to serve. So when someone gets on the phone with me and I talk to them and we have a sales conversation and I give them everything I've got, I don't hold back, and half of them will say yes. The other half, they'll be like, "You know what, Ik, now's not the right time," or "No, actually, this is not for me." That's cool. I'm actually totally cool with it, and I wish them all the best. In actual fact, I go the extra mile. I would just send them extra resources for them to get on and do it themselves anyway, and they love me for it. And so so I'm able to really practice and work on that, and that's how you just got to do it.
Exactly, you gotta do it, and then
Just got to do
as
it.
you're doing something brilliant, which is keep the relationship alive. Because
That's
they
it.
say no, there might be no, it is not right now, is not never again.
That's right.
Which means by you sending the extra resources, by spending that extra time, actually you're showing that you know what? It's not that I just want to close a sale. I care about you as an individual. I wish you the best. Of
Yes.
course, I want you to. I want us to work together if it's a good fit. But I'm here for you first,
Yeah.
and people can feel it, and people can see it, and that's how you can really turn your sales around. And so thank you for sharing what you shared right now, Ek, because definitely sales is something that everyone who is listening right now
Yeah.
needs to get on board with.
Yeah.
And the same thing is, for example, if you have already a sales team, the same thing the same mentality needs to be applied for you in the training that you run for your sales team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the biggest lessons I learned from one of my mentors, is you have to be the best salesperson in your business. Because if you don't, know how to sell, how can your team know how to sell? No one, because it's your product at the end of the day. If you can't sell your own product, no one else can sell your product.
Yep.
Your team is only a reflection of who you are at the end of the day. And when the penny dropped for me, I was like, oh my god, I better get over myself and I'm just gonna do it, because eventually I don't want to sell as well, right? Eventually I do want to outsource it to have and grow a sales team, but I got to be able to train them in a way that I want them to sell as well. Actually,
Exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely, and that's something that we found. We found while growing also the sales team within GTeX. It's about finding the way, but I need to lead. I need to set the example.
Exactly.
And in fact, I want to be the best. Like even, this is but my competitive nature. That's how I am. I have more people around me. It's like, okay, like I cannot allow my salesperson to do better than me.
Yes.
That's no way that's gonna happen.
But we're talking about
Which
leadership here, right? So being a leader, you gotta be the best, right? You gotta aim to be the
absolutely, it's
best.
leading by example and giving them all the
Yeah.
resources that they need to then improve and become better. And so it's a constant like uplifting each other, helping
Yeah.
each other to reach new heights. So before we wrap up, how was becoming a lifetime member? How did becoming a lifetime member help you to grow your business and to be where you are now?
Oh, that's a very good question. So when I first started working with you, Simone, when we got into the first meeting, the reason why I came to you was not because that at that moment in time, this was, by the way, for those of you listening, this was pretty much like 2 years ago, right? So it was like I was already doing my own thing, as you already knew. And what I
Yeah.
loved about you actually is the fact that you, after helping me out in terms of what I wanted to learn from you was how to sell on stage, and you gave me a really nice structure that I followed, which actually produced result because I made £6,000 on my second event following that particular structure, and now it's evolved now, and now everything's changed, and I've tweaked it the way that it
Hmm.
works for me, but
Yeah.
even better. So, but what I loved about GTeX and what I loved about you was the fact that you came up to me by saying, "Ik, I already know you're doing what you're doing, and there's probably nothing you can teach me that you personally can teach me, but you asked me, how can you help me?" And I said, "I just want result quicker." And I said, if you can get me a result 2 to 3 times quicker, I'm in. And you said, I can get you a result 5 times quicker. And
I
that's
remember
exactly
that.
what
I
I
remember
bought
that
into.
conversation.
Yeah, and that's what I bought into, because it wasn't the fact that I wanted to learn anything from you. It was the fact that no, you can help me get results. That's all I care about, because I'm result orientated. I just want result, and if it didn't work out, I would have come and kill you with a knife, you know. But no, you helped me get results, and that's what I'm talking about. So, in how did the question was, how did GTeX help me in terms of my journey with alongside with Jono and Limit Break Lifestyle? Well, I learned there's 4 things that you need to succeed in this entrepreneur journey, because it's a journey, right? No one is going to be an overnight success. It's going to be an ongoing journey, and I realized that you need 4 things in life. Well, you need 4 things in your structure. That is best practices, current best practice in the market space, and you need accountability and from the right people, and you need a peer group to hold you, to keep you going, and you also need additional resources. It's like a resource of library, and GTeX held all of this. GTeX actually has all of this. For those of you who are listening, GTeX has the additional resource you need. If anyone logs into the lifetime membership online portal, there's tons of freaking online training that I have not even gone through myself yet. There's how to be how to do TED Talk, how to do webinar, and all of the resources that you ever need as an entrepreneur. So well done, Simone. Keep those coming, and it keeps growing, right? You keep adding
Absolutely.
into it. So there's that bonus element. You hold us accountable, as and when we need to. As and when we need it, you definitely hold us accountable. You celebrate your. This is one thing GTeX. What I love about GTeX is that GTeX celebrates the client's results. They celebrate clients, their wins. So like handing out awards, for example. That's genius. And GTeX is a community base. So it's like a GTeX family is like a community full of entrepreneurs, experts who are on the same journey towards becoming an authority. So you got that peer group holding you there, and of course, um, with you and Ben, with what you guys do, you guys are good at what you're doing. So you guys offer the best current practice. for experts to grow their current business because you apply it for yourself as well. So, hey, you know what? You have all four elements. I think I've said enough, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ik, for your testimonial here. Guys, if you're listening right now, you want to get involved and you want to know more about how to become a GTeX member, there is a link here in the show notes. Make sure that you click in that link. Can arrange a call and you can see all the trainings that we have available. But now, before we wrap up, Ik, if someone says, okay, I've listened to this interview, I absolutely love Ik, he is awesome, and guys, you should think this way because he is awesome.
Thank you.
Then, and someone says, I want to become, I need to grow my leadership skill. I'm a millennial and I want to become better at leading myself, leading my life, leading the people around me. What do you have for them?
So I do a lot in I'm building my YouTube channel where I add a lot of content for people to learn from. I also have a lot of blogs and articles. Now, what I'll say is what I have on offer really
What's
is
the
just
before you go on? What's the name of
yeah.
the YouTube channel?
YouTube channel is just my company name, Limit Break Lifestyle.
Perfect.
So
Limit
you
Break
type in,
Lifestyle
yeah,
on
if
YouTube
anyone
and
Googles
Google.
Limit Break
Cool.
Lifestyle, you'll find our YouTube channel and everything. But what I like to give away for free is I've already have a 5-part clarity training series for millennials to help them find their leadership, to find clarity in their life, which is the start of their leadership journey, and that is absolutely free. And you can just have that. You can just go on findyourjourney.co.uk to access that training for free.
Perfect. We're gonna put the link in the show notes. Let me repeat it again: findyourjourney.co.uk, and it's find your journey, only one word, right?
Yes, correct.
Perfect, fantastic. Ik, thank you very much for this fantastic interview. It's been great catching up with you,
Thank
and
you for
well,
having
we'll
me.
talk. We'll talk soon. We will be sitting next to each other at the next Yes Group event.
Yeah,
So, with our tables. So thank you very much for being on the show. Really appreciate it, man.
it is an honor. Thank you.
And for those of you that are listening right now, thank you very much for listening or watching on YouTube or the other platforms. Make sure that you hit that juicy subscribe button right now. I know it's calling you, so hit that right now. And also let us know, what did you enjoy the most about this interview? Give us a review, of course 5-star, about the interview that we did with Ik. What did you enjoy the most? And I'm going to make sure that we are going to read those reviews, the best reviews out, and we're going to give you a nice shout out. So thank you very much for listening, and always remember that together we grow exponentially. See you next time. Ciao.